The Empire had ruled the stars for 10,000 years. Its fleets crossed galaxies, crushing every rebellion that rose against it. Planets burned in its name. But on the edge of a quiet star system, something appeared that made even the Empire's admirals fall silent. At first, it was only a dot on the scanners, cold, dark, and silent. The Imperial ships thought it was a drifting asteroid. But as their sensors focused, the dot changed shape. It wasn't a rock. It was metal. It was built. "Commander," said the sensor officer, his voice tight. "Object is artificial. Unknown design. No transponder codes. No communication signals." The commander leaned forward. "Size." The officer swallowed. "Large. Very large. Bigger than a dreadnought." That made the commander freeze. Nothing that size should be here. The nearest shipyard was 50 light-years away. And there was no record of any vessel that big. The Empire knew every ship that existed. Or it thought it did. "Try hailing them," the commander ordered. The bridge filled with soft static as the comms team broadcasted message after message. No reply. No movement. No signal. Then, without warning, the dark ship moved. It turned slowly, almost lazily, as if waking from a long sleep. The Empire cruiser adjusted its sensors to get a better look, and the image sharpened. The hull was strange, scarred, patched, and covered with markings that looked old. Older than any known civilization. "What language is that?" someone whispered. The linguistics officer shook his head. "Unknown. It's not Imperial, not trade tongue. I've never seen it before." The commander's heart pounded. "Scan for life signs." They scanned. Nothing. "No life forms detected," came the report. "But there's power. Strong power. Coming from deep inside the ship." Before the commander could respond, the ship did something impossible. A transmission burst across the system, a sound like metal screaming. It wasn't a message. It was more like a roar. The signal hit the Imperial ship so hard that its communication array overloaded. Lights flickered. Consoles sparked. "Shields up," the commander shouted. The massive unknown ship began to unfold. Panels on its hull shifted, revealing long, sharp structures that glowed faintly blue. They weren't weapons the Empire recognized. In fact, they didn't look like any technology known to exist. The bridge went silent. Every officer watched the screen, afraid to breathe. And then, one of the young ensigns gasped. "Sir, look at that emblem." Zooming in, they saw it clearly now, faded white letters on black steel. 4 simple words: United Earth Defense Force. No one spoke. Earth. That was a name from ancient legends. Humanity, the lost species, long gone. Every academy student had heard the myths, how the humans had spread among the stars, fierce and wild, then vanished after the Great Collapse. No one had seen a human ship in over 5,000 years. "This can't be real," the commander whispered. "Humans are extinct." But the proof was right there. That ship was human. As the Empire ship watched, the human warship powered up. Energy readings spiked off the charts. Its engines burned with a strange, blinding light. "Sir," the tactical officer said shakily, "it's charging weapons. Evade. Move us out of range." Too late. A beam of pure white energy lanced out, not at them, but into the empty void beside them. Space itself seemed to bend. The shockwave hit the Imperial cruiser like a hammer, shaking everyone inside. "Shields at 70%, someone shouted. But the mysterious ship didn't attack again. It just stayed there, silent, watching. Then a voice came through the static. "Low. Calm. Human. This territory is under protection of Earth Command," it said. "Unauthorized presence will be removed." The line went dead. No one moved. No one spoke. Did you hear that?" whispered the comms officer. The commander swallowed hard. "Record everything. Send it to High Command immediately. The Empire ship pulled back slowly, keeping its distance. As they turned, the human ship didn't follow. It simply rotated again, returning to its silent, waiting state. In the Imperial capital, when the recording reached the Council, panic spread. If humans still existed, if they had warships like that, the balance of power would shatter. Every system would remember the stories of humanity's fury, their unbreakable will. Whispers began, they were supposed to be extinct. How could one of their ships still be alive? Admirals argued. Scientists denied. Spies were sent. But no one dared to go back to that system. The Empire had conquered thousands of worlds, but now, it was afraid of one ghost ship. Deep in the cold void, the warship waited. Its engines glowed softly, its weapons ready. Inside, behind layers of armor, something ancient stirred. And somewhere, far beyond, others began to wake. The humans were not gone. They were only sleeping. And now, they remembered. The Empire could not ignore what it had seen. A human warship, ancient, powerful, and completely alive, lurking at the edge of known space. The Council convened immediately, sending their best fleet, sleek, deadly ships designed to crush any enemy. The fleet jumped into the system, sensors wide open, engines burning bright against the black void. The commander of the fleet, Admiral Vaylor, studied the scans in silence. His face was pale. "I've seen many weapons, many civilizations, but nothing like this," he muttered. His first officer, a sharp-eyed alien named Carol, leaned over. "Sir, they are holding position. No aggressive movement. Yet the energy readings, they are off the charts. This is not a normal ship. It is alive." Vaylor gritted his teeth. "Alive or not, we have orders. We need to investigate. Prepare boarding teams. Scanners, focus on the interior. I want every corner mapped before we approach." The fleet edged closer, weapons ready, scanning every inch. The human ship, enormous and silent, seemed almost casual in its posture, like a predator waiting for the right moment. Its hull shimmered faintly in the starlight, reflecting colors the sensors could barely read. As the fleet approached, the first probe was launched. It crossed the void in a flash, but then, it vanished. No signal. No trace. Just a quiet flicker of light that disappeared as though the probe had been swallowed by space itself. "What the?" Vaylor shouted. "Status report. Probe is gone, sir." "We have no readings," Carol answered, voice tight. "It's as if it was erased." The Admiral slammed his fist on the console. "Keep trying. Launch another probe. Another probe, another attempt. Same result. Vanished. No debris, no explosion. Nothing." Suddenly, the warship emitted a pulse of energy, soft but unmistakable. It washed over the fleet like a tide, not harming them, but touching every sensor, every screen. Every crew member felt it deep in their bones. Cold. Calculating. Terrifying. "Admiral," Carol said, voice trembling. "It's scanning us. Reading everything. Even our thoughts, our emotions." Vaylor's jaw tightened. "Then let it read. We will not show fear. Prepare boarding ships. We go in person. No drones. No probes. Humans are gone. We are the Empire. Nothing can stop us." The boarding craft were loaded. Small, fast, armed to the teeth. Vaylor chose his best soldiers, the elite of the elite. They were trained to kill anything, anywhere, but none had faced a human before, at least, not a real one. The first craft approached the hull. As it drew near, strange symbols on the ship glowed faintly. The boarding team paused. No alarms, no weapons, just waiting. Inside the ship, the corridors were narrow, dark, and metallic, but unlike any technology the Empire had seen. Panels moved like living skin, and the air smelled faintly of ozone and metal. Every step echoed, yet there was no sound. The soldiers spread out, weapons raised, scanning. Then they saw them. Shadows. Not human, not alien, but shapes that moved with precision and grace. No faces, no eyes, only movement. The team froze. The shapes didn't attack. They simply observed. Keep moving, Vaylor's voice came through comms. Stay alert. Nothing escapes us. As they advanced, the corridors opened into a massive chamber. And there, in the center, they saw the crew. Humans. Real humans. Not the legends, not myths. Men and women in uniforms that glowed faintly under the ship's lights. Their eyes were calm, almost indifferent, as if they had been expecting visitors. Some were at control panels, others moved silently across the deck. One human looked directly at them. His gaze was sharp, intelligent, and terrifyingly confident. "Welcome," he said, voice deep and steady. "We have been waiting." The soldiers froze. Communication broke down for a moment, disbelief crossing their faces. These humans, extinct for thousands of years, were alive, organized, and fully aware of the Empire. "State your intentions," Vaylor shouted. The human captain smiled faintly. "You are far from home, Admiral. You do not belong here. Leave now, and you may survive. Stay, and you will learn why humanity never truly fell." The words hung in the air. There was a calm finality in his tone, a certainty that no one could argue with. The soldiers gripped their weapons tighter, but unease crept in. Then, without warning, a hum filled the chamber. Panels along the walls began to shift. Weapons unfolded, glowing with energy. The humans did not move, but the soldiers could feel the power in the room, ancient and unstoppable. Vaylor's hand shook as he touched the controls. This is impossible. How can one ship contain so much energy?" The human captain's eyes glinted. "You see power, Admiral. But power without purpose is nothing. We have purpose. And now, you are in our territory." The boarding team backed up, fear creeping in. Every instinct screamed to run. But the humans didn't advance. They simply waited, calm, controlled, and ready. Somewhere deep inside the ship, systems powered up, lights blinking in patterns too fast for human eyes to follow. The Empire soldiers realized they were not just on a ship. They were inside a machine that thought, that planned, that was alive. And then the captain spoke again. "You should have stayed away." The ship shuddered slightly, and the corridors seemed to stretch. The walls themselves seemed to watch. The soldiers turned to run, but the exit was gone, vanished. The ship had changed. The boarding team was trapped. Alone, in a ship older and wiser than the Empire itself. Outside, the fleet waited, unaware that the first humans in thousands of years had already taken control. And the Empire had just walked into the beginning of a nightmare it could not escape. Inside the human ship, the boarding team stumbled through corridors that seemed to pulse with life. Every panel, every wall, moved slightly as if the ship itself were aware of them. The soldiers' weapons felt heavy in their hands, almost useless against the silent, observing humans. The captain led them into a massive chamber. It was unlike anything the Empire had ever seen. Towers of glowing machinery stretched to the ceiling, filled with energy that made the very air vibrate. Small devices floated in mid-air, spinning and shifting with no visible support. Every inch of the room hummed with a quiet, immense power. The captain finally spoke. "You see this, Admiral? This is not just a ship. It is a weapon, a fortress, and a laboratory all at once. And it has been waiting for this moment." Vaylor's soldiers glanced nervously at each other. Some wanted to flee. Some were frozen in awe. The machines were not just tools, they seemed intelligent, alive. And the humans controlled them without touching a single panel. With a glance, a wave of a hand, the machines obeyed. "Energy weapons online," said one human, simply pointing at a massive tower. The hum grew louder, and small arcs of white-blue energy danced along the walls. The soldiers instinctively raised their shields, though they could feel the futility in the gesture. One of the soldiers whispered, How can one ship hold this much firepower? The captain's eyes glinted. Because humans do not think like you. You measure power by size, by numbers, by weapons. We measure it by will, by control, by precision. Without warning, the ship itself moved. Corridors shifted, folding like paper. The boarding team found themselves back at the entrance, though no one had walked that way. The ship had transported them without touching a single step. Impossible, Vaylor muttered, gripping his weapon. It's alive. The captain smiled faintly. Not alive. More. A human mind controls it. Every part of this vessel thinks as one. Every action, every reaction, every strike is calculated. You cannot fight it. At that moment, a massive hologram appeared in the center of the chamber. It was the galaxy, with stars, planets, and fleets marked in glowing blue. And then, one by one, Imperial ships began to flash red, destroyed before any laser could even reach them. Vaylor stared, his mind racing. Simulation? He asked. The captain shook his head. No simulation. Prediction. Anticipation. The ship calculates all possibilities and acts faster than you can comprehend. Your fleet is already trapped. On the bridge of the Imperial fleet, alarms screamed. Ships spun out of control, engines failing, weapons offline. It was as if the humans had reached out through the void and touched them directly. No attack, no missiles, just power. Back inside the human ship, the boarding team felt it too. Their weapons malfunctioned. Communications scrambled. Every electronic device faltered. The humans walked calmly among them, unthreatened, observing reactions, studying fear, measuring control. One soldier tried to fire. The gun clicked uselessly. Another attempted to call reinforcements. Static filled the comms. Panic rose like a tide. The captain raised a hand. You see, Admiral? You came here thinking you could challenge us. But humans have learned that the strongest weapon is not guns, not shields, not fleets. It is understanding, planning, and the courage to survive against impossible odds. Vaylor's mind raced. He had faced countless alien species, each with unique weapons. But none could do this. None could control the very reality around them. Then the ship pulsed. The walls glowed brighter, and suddenly, the boarding team felt themselves lifted slightly from the floor. The air shimmered. Gravity itself seemed to bend. The captain did nothing. The ship did. Every ship in the Empire, the captain said, voice calm, has a weakness. Every fleet has a flaw. We find it and we exploit it. Your empire has grown arrogant. You forgot one lesson humans never forget. No force can predict the mind of a human. Vaylor's hands shook. His crew looked at him, eyes wide. We underestimated them, he whispered. The captain walked past him slowly, eyes scanning the soldiers. This is why you do not conquer humans, he said softly. Because even extinct, we survive. Even scattered, we strike. Even forgotten, we return. Outside, the fleet began to break apart, ships spinning helplessly in orbit. The Empire could do nothing. No weapon, no strategy, no command could counter the human ship. And the fleet began to retreat, every commander aware of one terrifying truth: humanity had returned. The boarding team, trapped inside, realized the ship was no longer just a vessel. It was a thinking, living extension of the human's will. And they had only just begun. Somewhere deep in the ship, beyond the visible corridors, other humans stirred. Scientists, strategists, and warriors who had waited for centuries to awaken. They were ready. They had waited, watched, and learned. And now, the galaxy would remember the true meaning of fear. Because humans were not gone. They had only been preparing. And the Empire had walked straight into the beginning of their reckoning. The Empire fleet had never faced anything like this. Ships that were once invincible now spun helplessly in orbit, systems failing, engines dying. The humans did not attack with lasers, missiles, or bombs. They attacked with knowledge, control, and precision, the kind of force no empire could prepare for. From the bridge of his flagship, Admiral Vaylor watched in disbelief. Red alerts flashed endlessly across the consoles. His fleet, 1,000 ships strong, was being destroyed without a single shot fired in anger. Ships collided with each other as if guided by invisible hands. Pilots screamed over comms as systems failed. Panic spread faster than any virus. On the deck of the human ship, the captain observed calmly. Every movement of the Empire fleet was predicted, anticipated, and neutralized. The human crew didn't fire weapons, they guided the flow of battle like conductors leading an orchestra. Tiny adjustments here, a shift there, and an entire battalion of ships faltered. "Sir," one of the boarding soldiers whispered to Admiral Vaylor, "they're not attacking, they're controlling. The ships, they're moving themselves." The captain nodded. "Correct. Every ship in the Empire fleet is part of the environment now. We do not need to touch them directly. They respond to our will, our calculations, our understanding of chaos." Vaylor's hands trembled over the controls. This cannot be real. How can one ship, one crew, have this much control over thousands of vessels? "Focus on survival," Carroll, his first officer, said. "We need to retreat before they." But retreat was no longer an option. The human ship had anticipated it. Energy fields stretched across space, invisible but immovable. The Empire ship slowed, engines straining, unable to move forward or backward. Then the humans acted. White-blue beams of energy cut through the void, striking key points of the fleet. No explosions. No fire. Just immediate, precise shutdowns of critical systems. Ships fell silent one by one, drifting like corpses. The remaining ships tried to regroup, but every maneuver had been predicted and countered. Vaylor realized the truth. The humans didn't need to destroy them to win. They only needed to control the battlefield, and the Empire's power melted away like ice in the sun. On the human ship, a young soldier approached the captain. "Shall we finish it?" he asked. The captain shook his head. "No. Let them live. Let them remember why humans were never conquered. Fear is a more lasting weapon than death." Back on the bridge of the flagship, Vaylor tried to send a message to the other fleets. Communications crackled, then went dead. The humans had isolated them completely. Panic became terror. Officers argued, shouted, and some tried to abandon their posts. But every action had already been calculated, anticipated, and neutralized. The boarding team on the human ship watched from inside as their former fleet descended into chaos. Soldiers who had laughed at stories of ancient humans now realized the truth. These beings were not myths. They were legends reborn, unstoppable and precise. "This is beyond anything we were trained for," Vaylor muttered, voice tight. "We've never faced a mind like theirs. Not even close." The captain turned to him, calm and unyielding. "You see, Admiral, humans are not only survivors. We are problem solvers. We adapt. We calculate. And when the universe forgets us, we return stronger than before." The fleet's last functional ships tried to escape, jumping into hyperspace. But the humans had predicted every possible exit route. Energy fields nudged them back, forcing them to retreat slowly, humiliated and powerless. The Empire fleet had never been defeated in this manner. Never. And now they were learning a lesson older than any star. Never underestimate a human. Inside the human ship, the corridors were quiet again. The crew moved calmly, performing tasks with efficiency, precision, and absolute control. No one celebrated. No one cheered. They had done what was necessary. And they had sent a clear message. The boarding soldiers looked around, awed. They didn't even fire a real shot," one whispered. The captain smiled faintly. "Sometimes, showing your hand is enough. Fear teaches lessons that weapons cannot. Remember this, Admiral. Humanity is not extinct. We are not weak. We are not forgotten." Vaylor, beaten in spirit if not in body, finally nodded. He understood. The humans had returned, and the galaxy would never be the same. Outside, the stars continued to shine, indifferent to the clash of empires and legends. But for the first time in thousands of years, a new power had emerged from the shadows. A human ship, ancient, alive, and controlled by minds sharper than any imperial admiral could imagine, now ruled a small corner of the galaxy. And it was only the beginning. Somewhere deep in the ship, other humans stirred. Warriors, engineers, strategists, all awakened. They had waited, watched, and learned. Now, they would act. The Empire had survived countless battles, countless rebellions. But this was something new. Something different. Something they were not ready for. And humanity had only just begun to remind the galaxy why they were never to be underestimated. The Empire was in shock. News of the human warship and its unmatched power spread through every system like wildfire. Panic replaced pride. Governors whispered in fear, admirals argued violently, and scientists scrambled to explain what they had witnessed. But the humans did not wait. They did not rush into conquest. Instead, they acted with patience, precision, and calculation. Their warship moved silently from system to system, showing only glimpses of power when necessary. Planets under the Empire's control received strange transmissions, brief and untraceable, warning, "You are watched. You are not safe." On one distant colony, a governor dismissed the warning. Within hours, his entire fleet was found drifting in space, engines dead, shields collapsed, yet no shot had been fired. His soldiers returned, trembling, to tell tales of a ghost ship that moved like thought itself. Fear spread faster than any fleet could travel. Inside the human warship, the captain observed everything calmly. "We do not destroy unless needed," he told his crew. "Fear is stronger than firepower. Let the Empire remember that humans are never powerless, even when unseen." The boarding soldiers, still aboard the ship, watched in awe as the humans demonstrated tactics they had never imagined. Tiny probes that seemed harmless were sent into communication networks. They spread not viruses, but calculated messages, whispers of impossibility. "We are here. We never left. We see everything." Every system the humans touched turned into a chessboard. Empire fleets responded with brute force, sending hundreds of ships to intercept. Every move was anticipated. Every attack countered before it began. And each time, the humans withdrew, leaving only evidence of their dominance, a lingering sense of inevitability that gnawed at the Empire's commanders. Admiral Vaylor, still trapped inside the ship, realized the humans' genius. "They don't fight like we do," he muttered. "They fight in ways we cannot see. They use knowledge, fear, anticipation. They make us fight ourselves." In the Empire capital, debates raged. Some suggested mass retaliation. Some argued for diplomacy. But every plan seemed small, weak, and meaningless against a species that had returned from myth to remind the galaxy of its power. On the human ship, new humans awoke. Scientists, strategists, and warriors who had been in stasis for centuries moved with purpose. They studied imperial fleets, analyzed tactics, and predicted outcomes with terrifying precision. Every action of the Empire became a lesson, a demonstration of human calculation and patience. A young officer approached the captain. "Shall we reveal more of our power, sir? The Empire trembles already." The captain shook his head. "Patience. Let them fear what they cannot see. Let them remember every lesson of history. Then, when the time is right, they will understand why humanity is never defeated." Outside, the human warship hovered near a key Empire stronghold. The fleets there prepared for battle, unaware that the humans had already calculated every possible move. Suddenly, communication channels filled with a single, calm message: "Withdraw or witness the cost of arrogance." The Empire commanders laughed at first. Then systems began to fail. Shields collapsed. Engines sputtered. Ships drifted helplessly, yet no human weapon had fired. The same method repeated across other systems. Whispers spread. Humans were back. Humans were watching. Humans were unstoppable. Vaylor understood the new reality. It's psychological, he said quietly. They don't need to destroy us. They break us first, our minds, our pride, our certainty. And then, they can strike if needed. The boarding soldiers nodded, awed. This is beyond anything in our training, one whispered. They aren't just fighting, they're rewriting the rules of war. The captain looked out into the stars. Empires rise and fall, fleets come and go, but humans endure. Not by chance, not by luck, but by will. And now, we remind the galaxy of that truth. As the Empire scrambled, the humans continued their quiet expansion. Systems that had once been secure now experienced strange, impossible events. Supplies vanished, communications were scrambled, fleets became disoriented. All without a single battle. Fear became the humans' greatest weapon. Each act, each movement, was calculated to leave the Empire guessing, doubting, and trembling. Slowly, one system at a time, humanity reclaimed its place, not with brute force, but with strategy, precision, and inevitability. And deep inside the human ship, the captain prepared for the next stage. Humans would no longer hide. They would no longer wait in silence. Soon, the galaxy would see the full return of a species that had been underestimated for millennia. The Empire had felt fear before, but never like this. Never against something it thought extinct. And now, the humans were not just back. They were everywhere, silent, watching, waiting, and preparing to show why the galaxy had never truly defeated them. The first step had been taken. The Empire had learned a new rule: never underestimate a human. And this was only the beginning. The humans had waited long enough. Their warnings, their subtle demonstrations of power, had spread fear across the Empire. Now it was time to act. Not with chaos, not with recklessness, but with precision, speed, and strategy the galaxy had never seen. From the bridge of the human warship, the captain surveyed the Empire fleet scattered across a system like ants unaware of the approaching storm. Every movement had been predicted, every weakness identified. The crew moved calmly, almost casually, while energy flickered along the hull, glowing softly with contained power. "Prepare strike teams," the captain ordered. "Target command ships first. Disable, do not destroy. Let fear do the rest." The boarding soldiers watched in awe. "They're not just attacking," one whispered. "They're dismantling the Empire's control without firing full weapons." The humans launched specialized drones, small, almost invisible, and impossibly fast. They slipped past defenses, infiltrating ships' engines, navigation, and weapon systems. One by one, Imperial vessels lost coordination, drifting helplessly. The Empire commanders panicked. Orders were shouted. Fleets tried to regroup. But every attempt had already been accounted for. The humans seemed to move through time itself, anticipating every action, every hesitation, every possible counterattack. On the flagship of the Empire, Admiral Vaylor struggled to maintain control. "Report," he barked. Officers scrambled, but every system failed in sequence. Engines sputtered, shields faltered, communications went silent. It was as if the human ship were inside every ship at once, touching every circuit, anticipating every choice. The human captain raised a hand. "Targeting complete. Proceed." White-blue beams of controlled energy cut through the void, striking key points in the fleet, not to destroy, but to immobilize. Ships spun helplessly, their formations collapsing. Pilots screamed, weapons misfired, and the once proud Imperial fleet became chaos incarnate. The humans moved next. Boarding parties were deployed with speed and precision. Silent, unseen, they infiltrated command ships, seizing control of systems without a single shot being fired. Admiral Vaylor watched in horror as the humans accessed the ship's controls, guiding his own vessels like puppets. This is impossible," he muttered. "They're inside the ships. Controlling them." "Yes," Carol whispered. They are rewriting reality, one system at a time. They are perfect. In the Empire capital, leaders panicked. Fleets were reporting failures, entire regions were losing control, and no one understood why. Humans were striking, yet no one saw them. It was as if the galaxy itself had turned against the Empire. On the human warship, the captain spoke to his crew. "Remember, we strike to teach, not to annihilate. Show them our power. Let them understand that humans endure, that humans overcome, that humans never submit." The boarding soldiers nodded. They had seen the humans' methods, their efficiency, their control. This was not merely warfare, it was an art form, perfected over centuries of survival. Imperial fleets attempted desperate maneuvers, launching counterattacks and evasive jumps. But the humans had already predicted every move. One by one, ships were isolated, systems frozen, crews incapacitated. The humans left no trace of destruction, only absolute dominance. From the bridge of the human ship, the captain observed the results. "They will tell stories of today," he said softly. "They will remember. And they will respect what they cannot conquer." Even Valor, trapped inside his flagship, understood the lesson. They're teaching fear, teaching humility, not killing. And yet, we are already broken. The humans withdrew before the Empire could mount a coordinated response. Ships regained limited function, but the memory of helplessness lingered. Fleet commanders would not forget. Planetary governors would not forget. Every corner of the Empire now knew the truth: humans were back. In the aftermath, whispers filled the galaxy: the humans have returned. They are everywhere, unseen and unstoppable. Beware. Inside the human ship, the captain prepared for the next stage. More ships would awaken, more systems would be secured. Humanity's return was no accident. It was not revenge. It was strategy, patience, and inevitability. The boarding soldiers, still aboard, understood the magnitude of what they had witnessed. "We underestimated them," one said quietly. "We thought they were myths, but they are the ultimate predators." The captain looked out into the void. "Let the Empire recover, if it can. Let them rebuild, if they dare. Humans endure. Humans adapt. And soon, the galaxy will witness why humanity is never conquered." Outside, the stars continued to shine. Yet a silent war had begun, a war of mind, strategy, and willpower, not just fleets and firepower. And at the center of it all, the human warship moved calmly, calculating, preparing, and waiting for the moment the Empire could no longer deny its resurgence. This strike had been just the beginning. The humans had proven their power. They had instilled fear. They had reminded the galaxy: never underestimate a human. And the Empire would soon learn that the return of humanity was not a story, it was a reckoning. The galaxy was changing. Systems that had once belonged to the Empire were now eerily silent, their fleets immobilized or drifting under human control. Planets reported strange events. Communications flickered with ghostly messages, starports froze mid-operations, and entire cities experienced unexplained blackouts. The humans were everywhere and nowhere at once. From the bridge of the human warship, the captain observed the Empire's remnants. Ships tried to regroup, fleets attempted to counterattack, but every move was predicted, every strategy countered. The Empire's pride, once unshakable, was crumbling faster than any human weapon could destroy. "Prepare to secure command networks," the captain ordered. "We will not destroy them, yet. Let them feel the weight of inevitability." Boarding parties moved silently, spreading across systems, infiltrating command hubs, and taking control of communications. Imperial officers stared in disbelief as their own fleets answered commands from a human ship they could not see. Panic became hysteria. Orders were ignored, and the once disciplined fleets descended into chaos. Admiral Valor, aboard his flagship, tried desperately to regain control. "All units, regroup. Form defensive lines." His voice trembled. But the ships didn't respond. Engines faltered. Weapons froze. Sensors went blank. The humans had turned their own tools against them, not with destruction, but with absolute domination. "This is not war," Vaylor muttered to Carol. "This is execution. And we cannot even fight back." On the human ship, the captain spoke softly to his crew. "Remember, we do not destroy unless necessary. We teach lessons. We show power. We survive." Yet the message was clear. Every fleet, every colony, every governor understood it. Humanity had returned. Not as myths or legends, but as an unstoppable force. Outside, the human warship moved like a phantom, precise and untouchable. Systems folded into control, imperial fleets spun helplessly, and humans in stasis began to awaken in other ships, joining the ranks silently, efficiently, without ceremony. The Empire's high command attempted diplomacy. Messages were sent, ambassadors dispatched, fleets prepared for negotiations. The humans listened, then responded with a calm message that chilled the galaxy. "Your fleets obey our commands. Your systems answer ours. Withdraw, or lose control entirely. No threats, no violence, just absolute authority." And the Empire realized the truth. They could not win. Not with fleets, not with weapons, not with diplomacy. Humans had returned not to negotiate, but to reclaim. On the human ship, a young soldier watched the Imperial fleets in disarray. "Sir, they are giving up," he said quietly. "They know they cannot stop us." The captain nodded. "Good. Fear is more powerful than death. Let them remember this day forever. Let every system, every fleet, every officer understand what it means to underestimate a human." Across the galaxy, planets whispered tales of the humans' return. Ancient legends became reality. Stories of extinct warriors, brilliant strategists, and unstoppable minds were confirmed by every system that had seen the warship's power. Back on the flagship, Admiral Vaylor slumped into his chair. The Empire had survived countless wars, but never a human resurgence. He could only watch as his fleets were rendered impotent, his authority evaporating under the calm, unyielding control of the humans. This is a new order," he whispered. "They are not just back, they are the future." The human captain surveyed the galaxy from the bridge. The ships under his command were silent and perfect, systems synchronized, crews efficient. The humans had returned not as conquerors, but as inevitability itself, a force that no empire could resist, no strategy could outthink, and no pride could withstand. "Prepare the fleets for consolidation," he ordered. "We will reclaim what was lost. Not with hatred, not with chaos, but with precision, strategy, and will. Humanity is eternal. Humanity endures." The stars stretched before them, calm, silent, yet filled with unspoken tension. Every empire system knew it, every fleet understood it, every officer feared it. The humans were back. And this time, the galaxy would never forget them. Somewhere, deep inside stasis chambers and warships scattered across the stars, more humans stirred. Warriors, scientists, strategists, all awakening to join the ranks. Their return had begun centuries ago in secret, but now it was undeniable, unstoppable, and complete. The captain's eyes glinted as he looked at the stars. "Let them prepare," he said softly. "Because the humans have returned. And the galaxy will bend to what they cannot conquer, what they cannot predict, and what they cannot resist." The Empire had survived countless threats. It had toppled kings, destroyed fleets, and conquered worlds. But against humanity, it had learned a truth older than stars. No force, no matter how vast, could ever fully reckon with the mind, will, and determination of a human. And so, the humans sailed on, silent, unseen, and absolute. The galaxy had a new rule. Never underestimate a human. And for the first time in millennia, humanity was ready to show why.